episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. I'm your host, Brett. Chris is not here today. I got Matt Double Deuce here and Tanner the Head, as always. We got our show partners, Elite Nutrition Omaha. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off. Go to the store and yell B3.
Get a free shaker.
We also have Rosewood Block to make the best cutting boards and barbecue. Fully customizable. Check them out at rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off there as well. Also, if you like what we're doing, follow us on all major platforms, the YouTubes. Set us up for auto download. If you want to talk shit in the comments more than usual, go ahead and do that too. Because, we just want to make everybody a little less shitty every day.
I think we had the best comment ever on the last one.
Yeah. Well, apparently anybody can do a podcast. You know what? That's true.
It's true. Anyone can do a podcast.
It's true.
And we do know what we're talking about. But I mean, some people might get mad about that or get a little butthurt. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty funny. Like,
I mean, surprisingly, none of the three of us, well, even four, when Chris is there, are dummies.
no.
I mean, even like most of the stuff we talk about, like, I've been doing like training for like over 20 years. I've got to train with a lot of cool people, including like Louis Simmons and Ed Cohen. Like, I've been around and seen some things.
I've been in nutrition for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been like an avid gun collector for the last like probably 15 years.
And Matt's been Matt for like 40 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Matt is,
That's its own qualification.
yeah, Matt's credibility is that he's had almost every joint replaced in his entire body at this
Yeah.
point. He's basically bionic at this point.
I single-handedly hold up the hospital system.
Yeah. His insurance has really cash flowed a lot
Yeah,
of
you
doctors'
wonder why you
boats.
get a big increase every year?
Yeah.
This guy.
Every time you see a doctor buying a new boat, there's Matt.
Yep.
I saw something the other day like, you have a boat? You have boat money?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I got boat money. But
So-
I will say the follow-up
So we're not
comment,
just like a bunch of retards out here to fucking doing it.
yeah, but their follow-up comment was, but I like it. Like, anyone could do it. Obviously, anyone could do it, but I like it. I'm like, okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And, they do have a tardpod.com, one Tardation podcast. So, I mean, really, anybody
And I
can
checked
do
him
it.
out.
Which is also pretty funny.
Dude, AJ Wilkerson is so funny. Like, that guy cracks me up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, their podcast, when that kid said there's been 2 9/11s in his life and one was 2 girls, 1 cup. Oh, man. And if you have not seen 2 girls, I don't even know if it's out there anymore.
I have no idea. I have never
The
seen
reaction videos are out there, though, and those are just as fucking
You
quality.
can look it up on that device right there.
Yeah, I already looked at Meatspin because we were seeing if Meatspin was still around, and it is. Meatspin.com is still the same. So someone's been paying for that website for like, I think we were like in high school.
What
When
Like
the
that when it
fuck?
came out, he probably
What
could have
is
bought
that?
it for like $100.
I am like, no, not my
Go
search.
on, Meatspin. Look on your phone. Don't be a
Not
fucking
doing it.
you
No.
pussy.
Yeah.
Just look it up. Look it up. Look it up. He's looking.
I'm going to have to put this on like,
Nah, it's fine. You don't have to private browse.
Yeah.
Nicole's probably seen it already.
Oh, yeah.
all right.
it's
Let's
fine.
see.
This is going to be so good.
Oh, God. What? Meatspin.com.
Like MEA.
That's what I was going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured it was that. Oh, God, you cunt.
Dude, that's been there since like high school, right?
You're
Oh,
such
yeah.
a dick.
Seriously, that's been the same website since like high school.
Same video, same everything.
Oh, Lord. So you guys been watching this video for
No,
like
I kind of
my
forgot
homepage.
about it. I kind of forgot about it. I was like, God, I was talking with a client one day, and we were like, wow, I wonder if that's still around. And yep, sure
Matt
was.
pulls up a new tab and that just comes up. It's the first
Shows up.
thing.
That's why I have to have my phone
Default
on mute.
page.
I've never closed this tab.
Yep.
Last one we did some like current event stuff, and people seem to enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm getting set up right now. Let's do this thing.
No, so I was talking to Matt, and he's got an interesting story that he read. Well, we watched a little bit info on it, so it was a little bit different.
Yeah. The original story that I had read was that there was I think 3rd grader, was it?
In Michigan.
Yeah. And the article I read said that she wore a 2A hat. Like the hat said 2A on it, wore it to school. The school thought that it was inappropriate and had her take it off. It was like hat day, so you're supposed to wear some kind of hat, and took it off. And my initial reaction was like stupid on the school, stupid on the parent. Like I think they're both to blame, but like really, yes, free speech. but you're also like taking adult views and adult conversations and like projecting it through your child to do that.
Oh, who would ever do that?
Right. I'm not, but it's wrong on any side.
Yeah, who would totally ever do that?
Right.
My 3-year-old says it's non-binary. Oh, really?
Right.
Oh, okay.
But then we looked a little more into it, and it said like it had an AR on it. Right.
It had an AR and had the old "come take it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said come take it on it. And so like my opinion like still doesn't change on it. I think the school, I think it's petty for the school to be so reactionary to it and just be like, no, 100% like take that. You can't have that here. Whereas if you had some kind of like pro 1A hat on or something, right, it'd probably be fine. I think it's also poor conduct on the parents to bring a third grader into that conversation. Like if you want to have conversation, because like there's no way that third grader knows what that hat really means. So they're being brought into that adult version or that conversation without really knowing what they're saying.
Now, I assume they're probably taking a history class in there, and you're learning about the Constitution probably at this point in school. So do they just not read the Second Amendment in school?
I'm sure they do, but like they don't
know what it means.
They don't understand the implications.
No, I'm just saying the teachers don't know what it means.
Well, no, but like, the kids don't either. Like we think about back to a third grader and have them read any part of the Constitution. Like, sure, do they know like what the words say and what like the literal piece of it means? Maybe, but like they don't understand like the intent of it and the bigger picture view of what those words really imply for any of it.
The real problem is, well, we have a couple problems. One, kids are kids, and they're being brought into a bunch of conversations that they should not be in.
And I'm guessing she probably saw her dad had a hat and she thought it was cool.
It very well could have happened. Yep. Or like the whole family wears stuff like that, and that's just a hat that they have.
Could be.
So, I mean, that would be more likely that it's just something that everyone in their family already probably wears because they didn't go buy a 2A hat for that.
I mean, it's probably one that the dad has.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if it just happened to be something that was like, oh, like my dad's a Yankees fan, so I'm just going to wear this Yankees hat.
Now, what if we go the extreme opposite way? Like, what if this like is a very low income family and like that's the only hat in their entire house? And they have, but you know what I mean? And like, that's the only hat she had to wear. And so she was trying to fit in on hat day. And then the school's like, well, you can't wear that.
I mean, yeah.
Well, a lot of girls probably don't have hats.
But you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, what if the entire family in general?
But
like, you know, you're limited on hats because of the size of your fucking head. So if you only had a fucking 2A hat to wear to school,
I'd be like, have you tried buying half of this head?
I guess, but my thing is like, like you said, she probably doesn't know what it means. So why does the school need to make a scene about it?
Well, my more issue is with the school. And my issue with the school is that you can wear whatever you want on one side. You can wear any leftist whatever you want to school, and no one will say anything. If anyone says anything, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, you hate people, you're a white supremacist. Okay? Like, those are the normal things. So to pull something on, it didn't offend anybody. So it shouldn't offend anybody. It's just a 2A hat.
Okay.
Should not offend anybody. We all have the Second Amendment. Oh, not only conservatives get the Second Amendment, liberals get the Second Amendment.
Not if you're reading into it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be different if it had like a big wiener on it or something like that. And you're like, okay, you can't wear like a big wiener to school.
Exactly. It did. I mean, remember when we grew up, we wore offensive shit to school and before they took anything away.
Yeah.
Those were the good
You better put some tape on that shit and cover it up.
My buddy had it was like a fan and a vacuum cleaner. And it's like, you suck below me. Like, he wore that shirt to school all the time.
I used to have this shirt with a bunch of condoms and different sex positions on it.
Yeah. And then or the "Will Work for Weed" shirts that everyone wore.
Or the one "Will Work for Head." The guy didn't have a head. He was holding a sign.
So, okay. So, I mean, it's not that, right? Like, it's not offensive. Yeah. I mean, some liberal may have been offended by it, but it's not an offensive statement.
Overall, it's not an offensive statement.
Agreed. It's not. So the school, but that just goes to show that you cannot be conservative in public schools.
So the question I would have then is the argument that what they're doing on the left then is right, and therefore it is right for for it to happen on the right, or
it could all go away.
But
it doesn't.
No, but that would be my counter question is, because the argument was they can do anything they want on the left, you can't do it on the right.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't that doesn't say whether or not this is the right action.
But I don't think a 2A hat is ever offensive, and I don't think
Agreed.
I don't think it's a left or a right thing.
But there's a ton of adult, and I would say,
And now, and as far as the left, we should say extreme left because there's probably a lot of people on the left that don't care.
When
you know what I mean?
That
might be more democratic.
I would say like, yeah,
it's probably someone more on the extreme because there's probably some people that don't care.
I guess what I should say, I'll clarify. So when I'm using my terms, that it's like
It's the extreme, and I don't.
I'm not even saying Democrat and Republican. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm saying liberal, and liberalism is very far left right now.
And the extreme right, I'm not super crazy about some of the super extreme right people though either.
But I'm also like I'm conservative. Like
Yes.
I believe that the government should leave you the fuck alone, and that you should be able to do essentially whatever you want as long as it's not hurting anybody else.
Yeah, but the
Liberalism wants the government to do it for you. They think the government should control fucking everything. And that's not true liberalism, but that's what is defined as liberalism today.
so back to the third grader with the hat.
Yeah. I don't think it's offensive.
Right. So yeah, it's not offensive. There are still conversations that happen amongst adults that kids don't know what the implications are.
Right.
Right. So when you take your child and I agree, like it could have been like maybe they are like that's the only hat that it has, or maybe that is the hat that her dad wears every single day, and that's like possible. I would venture that more likely it was the parent making a statement through their child.
Possibly, but now what I would like to see is if they had like was there some kid wearing a rainbow hat? And again, I don't care. Ultimately, I don't care about any of them. But you know what I mean? But now some kids wearing a rainbow hat, did they have to take their hat off and be like, oh, well, that's in support of gay rights or something? You know what I mean?
I guarantee you they did not.
Right.
They would not. That would not happen. But
And
the third
I do
graders
agree
understand the pride flag.
Yes.
They do?
Well, no, do they? No. Like they have like surface, same thing for the Constitution. Like they have surface level. Okay, cool. That means that we're all friends.
So like if you want to be, I guess if you want to be smart about it at school, then say you can only wear team hats or something. If you, but like if you're going to allow anything on one side, then you have to allow it on the other.
Okay, yeah. And so that I think is the argument that I'm trying to get to with this is that when this type of topic comes up, a lot of times the counterpoint is, well, they can do whoever they are, they can do whatever they want and it's fine. But when I do this or when we do this, it's wrong. But I think that distracts from trying to get to the root of like what was right. Right? Is having your child wear that hat the right thing to do with depending on the intent, right? Because I think intent is very important.
And I think the right thing would have been like let her wear the hat the same way you would let a rainbow hat or a gay right. You know what I mean? Like
right. But do you think wearing that hat, the other hat,
the 2A hat?
No. Like if they're wearing some kind of rainbow hat or something that you would designate as like.
I think kids should wear whatever they want. I think where the line should be drawn is what the teachers in the school has in their classrooms.
What do you mean as far as kids? Well, I mean, I'll go back to the old, like when we were in school, you couldn't wear profanity.
That
you couldn't wear
that's
like
fine.
fuck up stuff like that. Like
I don't really care where like if someone wants to wear a rainbow hat. I honestly don't care.
But I can care less if somebody wants to wear a 2A hat.
Do care is like I don't think first off if your third grader knows like the political party that your teacher votes for, their political ideologies, their sexual preference, and all this other stuff, I think the teacher's fucked up because I think that needs to stay out of the classroom. Let's actually teach them school stuff. So I don't think the school should be promoting any of it.
You're saying they should stay neutral in all of it.
The school should be zero.
Yeah, I think they stay neutral.
If a student comes in wearing a rainbow hat or a 2A hat or a Gadsden flag, which another kid got pulled out for having a don't tread on me because it's white supremacy. Of fucking course it is. Your students should have a little bit more freedom to express themselves. I don't have a problem with kids expressing themselves. I have a problem with teachers expressing their views to third graders. I think it's indoctrination. And on any way, like teach them math and science and history the way it actually is, and then shut the fuck up about your personal stuff.
I mean, I never knew what any of my teachers voted for.
Nope, you do now though.
Yeah, I just think you should leave it alone in general. You know, whether it was the dad doing whatever, maybe she thought it was cool because her dad wore that hat, or like I said, outside chance they're super low income. That's the only hat they have, and like, do you know how terrible she probably felt if think if legitimately that was the only hat they had in their house.
Even if it was the dad saying, "Hey, wear this 2A hat to school," at that point in time, that's a parent-child discussion. And I'm not saying that kids need to be brought into stuff, but like your children at some point in time are going to adopt your views or the exact opposite of them, depending on the rebellion in your child.
And then, yeah, there's so many ways it could go. Like I said, they could have been low income. That girl, like, you know, you get those like Tiger Woods style. Like maybe she's like a competitive shooter. She could be like a 3-gun shooter.
Could be.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. There's some of those kids start really
There's
early.
a lot of context that you don't have.
So I think just like leave it alone. You know what I mean? Like, unless she was like, "You fucking liberals are pieces of shit. We got guns." You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. There's a lot of things, but just
she shouldn't or should not say that?
no, I'm saying if she would have said that, I could see. But like I said, in general, like I was telling you before, like if she would have worn like a grunt style shirt that has the American flag made out of guns, like would they have said anything about that? You know, we had a kid here that wore one of our OBGYM shirts to school, and they told him he couldn't wear it, and he was like, "Why?" Like, "That's a vagina doctrine." And he was like, "It's a gym." And they like told him he couldn't wear it.
So I just love once again, I don't want the public school system or anywhere that I send my children to trying to be indoctrinating my kids into anything. Mm-hmm. Whether I agree with it or not their job. Their job is to teach them how to do math, to read, which we have a very low reading score as a country. I think the average person in this country reads at like a 6th grade level. And our math, we're falling behind. Let's do school shit.
What was it, the 3 R's? Reading, writing, arithmetic? What they used to say back in the day? The 3 R's.
Well, the end on the Nebraska helmets for knowledge. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what Tanner was saying. I don't like the one-sided things. Like, just because you're not for something doesn't mean you're against it. You know what I mean? Like, if someone doesn't like necessarily think, maybe they're super Christian, they don't think that gay is right, but they're probably not. They probably don't hate you. They're probably not against it. Like, I hate you're either with us or against us. Like, you can't just be like, I don't really give a fuck what you do. Like, I don't really like that part of it. You know, you can have a belief, but it doesn't mean you dislike somebody. Like, there's plenty of people that have different views than I do that I get along fine with. Like, I don't care. That doesn't really. Me and Drew Dober sat in here yesterday and we talked, and Drew has very different views on a lot of things than I do. And him and I went back and forth, but I wasn't like, I fucking hate you, leave.
right.
You know what I mean? We just talked. We have a good time, joke around about it, but like, I just don't like I'm sure it goes both ways. I just don't like the two-sided, like, you're either with or against.
So for me personally, I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in the First Amendment for everybody. I believe in the First Amendment, even if I think you're an idiot. You have the right to say whatever you want. You do not have the right to not have any consequences. If you say something really stupid and someone tortures you on social media for it, that is a consequence for it. But I don't think the government should, arrest you for saying something. Just like the thing that just happened where the FBI showed up at that lady's house for her freaking Facebook posts. That just happened this week because she posted some FJB Facebook posts. The FBI show up, like, that is fucked up. That is restriction on First Amendment. The same way that if the FBI showed up conservative, or what we would say would be like super right wing, and said, we need to take this BLM stuff. No, you have the right to say something. The government does not have the right to interfere in it. Period. I don't care what it is. Colin Kaepernick wants to take a knee. He can take a fucking knee. I don't like whatever. Now, if his employer, the NFL, says no, he is also being employed, so they have the right to say no. Just like if your employer, if every time you get on the phone to talk to a client, you're saying some fucking political shit, they can tell you to shut the fuck up. Mm-hmm. That's their job. But I believe in your Second Amendment right. I don't care if I hate you. I don't care if I hate everything you believe in. If you have the right to own a gun, you have the right to own a gun. Like this, I believe in principles. And I guess my principle would be that I don't really care if the kid's wearing a rainbow hat to school and a kid wears a 2A hat to school. I don't really care. Like, do your thing. If your parents decided this was the thing you're going to do, then it is. I think the schools, however, show their political views by saying your rainbow hat is okay, but your 2A hat is not.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. And that, to me, is fucked up. If you want to ban all things, fine. As a school, a private school, I do think that banning things is typically not the way to get things done. I think talking about things is a way to get things done. Education is a way to get things done. I don't think, like, we could wear hats in school and then all of a sudden you couldn't when I was growing up.
Yeah, that's how my high school was too. You could wear them and then you couldn't.
It was like, oh, it's sophomore year, no more hats. Why? Because
like I
they're
said,
gang affiliated.
Yeah, it's a very strange time. But and I mean, I get like back in the day, we couldn't wear profanity.
We could. Like, my buddy had a we'll work for weed shirt. I mean, I don't know if that's profanity or not.
And they let him wear it in school?
Yeah.
They didn't tell me how to like tape it or anything like that?
No, like in junior
Or turn
high,
it inside out? Did they
in
get
junior
it?
high, yes. It had a big
Where
pot.
did you go to school? Was it were you special a special ed class though?
No, Irving in Lincoln. It was pretty rough.
I was saying, like, if you were in like what do those call those classes? The resource. If you're in the resource room, they probably didn't say much.
So I will tell you.
Stop looking the window, Tanner.
You can keep the shirt on if you stop licking the window.
No, they wanted you to lick the window, then they just wipe it up afterwards to clean the windows.
The window's only cleaned halfway up. He's
Not
growing.
that tall, lady.
Yeah.
Irving cracked me up. Like, Irving pulled. This was before Lincoln had all the schools like fill in. So Lincoln or Irving pulled like the richest neighborhood in Lincoln, like at the time, and the poorest neighborhoods in Lincoln all went to the same junior high, and it was a shit show.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
But I bet you could wear whatever hat you wanted to.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's just a very strange time of what is okay and what's not okay. Like I said, there was nothing offensive on the hat.
No.
So I don't see the problem with it. Like I said, there's a lot of variabilities you can put in. Like I said, maybe they're super poor. Maybe she's a young competitive shooter. Maybe she just got into shooting. Maybe she like loves the Black Rifle guys and it was one of their hats or something. You know what I mean? Like it's
maybe her dad was like, you know what, fuck this, wear this hat to school. To me, it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter on the other side.
Well, but that's I think that's a very important distinction. Like, do you not care on this side because the other side can do it?
I don't care if the other side does it. Once again, I don't care if a kid wears a rainbow shirt to school. I don't care if they wear a BLM shirt to school, but both sides should be able to be shown. All sides. Where I do care is that teachers should not have a pride flag in their school. They should not have a BLM flag in their thing. They shouldn't have a 2A flag. You have the American flag, and that's it.
Or state flag.
The American flag, the Nebraska flag, that's it. You're done. On Veterans Day, you can have your POW, whatever. Like, if you have something, fine.
Well, and even a POW flag is all encompassing because there's all different people that are prisoners of war. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
we have our nation flag because we're all one country. There is no white country, black country, Mexico. Like, we're all one country.
Agreed.
We all have the one constitution that protects all of us equally. We're all equal under the eyes of the law, period. But right now, that's not the way it works. No one, almost guarantee you, gets pulled out for having a rainbow flag on.
What if there is an amendment to allow arranged marriages for children down to 10 years old?
That's illegal.
Say there's an amendment and it gets passed and now it's legal.
I guess that's up to the person then. If you're
But now some kid, some third grader is now forced to marry a 40-year-old man, and for him to gloat, or whatever reason, maybe it's the only hat he has, he gives her a hat that has that on it.
Okay.
has what on it?
Whatever that amendment ends up being. If there's an amendment that passes, that makes that legal.
Well, first off, all cultures can have their own thing. That will never happen. That's a weird what if, and it's like that's that's a what if that's not even possible. Because if anything like that happened in this country, we would not have this country anymore.
The views that people have, like, for and against how amendments should be interpreted, vary widely, right?
I just think that your question is one of those that's like it's
totally absurd.
It's a trap question that has no answer.
Well, it tries to root down to the point of, like, is there an extent at which, like, what the kid wears to school becomes inappropriate because it's starts to spark conversation around whatever that's not a childhood conversation.
Okay, so I would go to, like, if we wander down this fucked up version of whatever country you live in to where 40-year-olds are marrying 10-year-olds, okay, then society has accepted that.
Right, but I'd say like
so then your question about whether they wear a hat to school or not is society.
But you're still going to have the same opinions. Like, obviously, some people are going to be so very, very against it.
If it's a right, like if you have a right to do it, then I guess you can wear your hat.
Okay. No, that's
because because once again, I'm not like our Constitution rules our country. Mm-hmm. I believe everyone has it. I also believe that you have your rights are given to you by God, not the government. The government protects your rights. They did not give them to you. God gave them to you, so you have them. The government is designed to protect them. We have them listed out in the Constitution, which rights are protected and how and to what extent. My First Amendment right does not allow me to run into a movie theater and yell fire.
Right.
That is not my First Amendment right. Okay? But my First Amendment right is I can pretty much say what I want as long as it's not putting anyone else in danger, or I can offend you. I can offend the fuck out of you.
As you should.
Yes. But
also know that you might get punched in the mouth.
Consequences.
There's consequences to everything.
Yes. First Amendment does not mean freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence.
But you have to, what would be interesting is, because I know you've said this, all of them should be up for discussion. And and you and I have had this disagreement before. But it would be interesting to see because, like, when I was talking with Drew yesterday, we went back and forth on some stuff. And, like, of course, the Second Amendment came up. But I think that people have to remember that when the Constitution was written, these guys came from a very oppressed like society. So they wrote all these things was to make sure that no one would ever end up in another oppressed society
Protect
again.
The people.
Yeah. Like guns weren't, George Washington wasn't like, we want to have guns so I can shoot that motherfucker across the street if I don't like him. They weren't made for the violence. They were made for protection and hunting to live. So it would be interesting to see when people ever started to actually question any of the rights. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because and the reason I'm saying this, I'm leading to my next part, is where right now we have 200 plus years of tradition, right, of the Constitution and your amendments, your Bill of Rights. You have these things.
Working on 250, right?
Yeah. It'd be like if you went to a Nebraska game and everybody's chanting "Go Big Red" and you decide you're going to start a new cheer. Do you remember, was it Scott Frost's first year, they tried to change the tunnel song? For the first game.
Oh, really?
And it lasted like one game.
And I almost switched in the middle of it. They're like, this isn't working.
So, you know what I mean? You're now, like what you're saying is you're stacking on like 200 years of tradition versus like, we just decided that creepy 40-year-olds can bang 10-year-olds.
Right. Well, no, I mean, admittedly, the situation is not realistic, right?
Yes.
But it's to pull out and extrapolate, to look at that view, like how far would we take it to protect that? And that I think you answered that, what I was looking for. It's like, yes, okay, let's assume that in this fucked up crazy world, like that becomes some amendment. Like, you could probably bring it a little more close to home and say that anyone over 10 years old could decide to have a sex change without their parental consent.
Oh, they already have that one.
Right? So, but say that somehow makes it in there, right? So that is something that obviously I think the three of us would agree we would not support. Now, if that becomes some kind of amendment, and say they roll it up with abortion, right? And now somehow that makes it as an amendment, right? So that's now on the books.
Yes. So
Like,
if someone wants to wear a, hey, we think
Pro whatever that is.
let's just the pro dumb fuck amendment hat.
Sure.
Okay. Let's just say that someone wants, then I should be able to wear a, you're a dumb fuck for this amendment hat.
Totally.
So that's my point. Like there should be, like the problem with society, as I view it today, is that I'm going to say, like liberals think that it's their way or the fucking highway. So anything that disagrees with them is now hate speech. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they have this really broad fucking definition of hate speech. Like if I hurt your feelings, I'm hateful. Well, no, I'm not.
Microaggression.
Yeah. I'm not responsible for your fucking feelings. You are. You're responsible for your feelings. I'm responsible for mine. So if I hurt your feelings, that's not on me. Now, I feel like the social contract should be that I shouldn't just go around being an asshole. right? Like
Right, you're not
like,
intentionally going out and trying.
well, even if I am, like I shouldn't. You know, I shouldn't just go pick on somebody for something that makes them different. Like we would never go pick on some kid with Down syndrome. Like that would be fucked up. Not that I can't do it, but that's just fucked up. That goes against the social contract, our social contract. Okay, but if you want to have a fucked up amendment, then but the problem right now is like is one side thinks everything's okay, and anything counter to that is now hate speech. That to me is fucked up.
Yeah, just because you're pro A doesn't mean you're pro people killing random people,
No.
or because you're pro whatever. You know what I mean? Like you're pro gay rights doesn't mean you hate straight people. You know what I mean? Like like I was saying before, you don't have to be for or against something, but that doesn't mean that you hate it. Sometimes you just don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't affect you.
It doesn't matter. Like you said, it's society. Like whether you believe it's okay that someone's gay, okay, that doesn't matter. But I'm not going to go tell some gay guy he's like a piece of shit asshole. Like it's his life. Whatever he wants to do, man. He's not, like I always say, as long as you, I've always said this before. I don't care if you just stay at home and bang heroin all weekend. But as long as you're not like molesting kids and beating up women and you contribute to society, like I don't really care what you do in the privacy of your own home, as long as you're not hurting someone else and you contribute to society and you're like a good person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
I am very much let adults make adult decisions. My problem is I do think that kids, like we have gotten to the point where kids are being told they can make some adult decisions. Like the whole puberty blocking thing to me is fucked up. Right? You can't get a tattoo. You know what I had to do to get my 15-year-old's nose pierced? I had to take a birth certificate. She had to have an ID with an address that matched our ID. Like that to get a fucking nose piercing.
well, in a tattoo, you got to be, is it 18 or 21? 18?
It's 18.
Yeah, to get a tattoo, which is, I mean, permanent as well. I mean, a nose piercing, at least you can take it out.
Right. So like there's a lot of things that we don't let kids drink. We don't let kids smoke. You have to be 21 to smoke. You have to be 21 to
And
drink.
while we're on that, I hate the argument too. Well, we let him go to war. Okay, you can choose to be in the military now. This is not a forceful thing
it's
anymore.
a voluntary
It's a job now.
Right, but like we've decided that those are adult topics, adult decisions to be made.
Yep.
Right, and
That doesn't mean a 16-year-old can't have an opinion.
they can. 16 is also different than 14, different than 12, different than that.
It all change. It all changes,
right? So, and that's I guess the piece that I'm going that got me thinking about that original thing is like you're bringing a child, and unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common that parents leverage children to make adult statements.
You also as kids, like as having kids, they tend to, once again, it's not always, but a lot of times if let's just say that I'm a farmer, okay?
Yeah.
And my kids are raised on a farm. They're going to know, like they probably drove a truck at like,
Right,
well, I drove a truck at 10, okay? Because on my grandpa's farm or a great grandpa's farm, like we could drive, like people didn't care. You know what I mean? There was just different things. So it is hard to tell, like if you're in a house that's all freaking liberaled out, like there's a chance at 10 that's what you think it is. So you're going to wear your rainbow shirt or do whatever, right? There's also a chance that if your kid comes home and you're like, we go out and shooting every freaking weekend, and my 9-year-old knows how to like clean their gun and hunt and field dress a deer, like, so it's just different. I mean, we do have. So for me, I don't want to police intent. I don't want to say, okay, all right, Billy, I needed you to take a test, and then at the end of this test, we'll decide whether you can have an opinion or not. At that point in time, if you want to have an opinion, you can have an opinion. I just don't think the teacher should.
Right.
I don't think the principal should.
Agreed.
I don't think the school district should. I don't think the superintendent should. Like all that shit should be left for home stuff.
Agreed.
And that if we did that, I think we'd have way less leveraging of children.
Yep.
Because it wouldn't be like trying to get things even.
Yeah.
Which is the problem. But once again, if the kid wants to wear a 2A shirt or a rainbow shirt to school,
Cool.
I don't have a problem with it. I just don't think it should actually have to happen.
I just think overall, just be good people. That's all it really takes. Be a decent human and care about the people around you.
Yeah,
I think
but
those are like, I agree. And then like because my mind, I'm always trying to find counterpoints, and it's super annoying. But like, so when you say be a good person, I totally agree. But then my immediate reaction is like, what's a good person? Like who defines a good person?
So I have two things to say. One, the devil's advocate in a group, which is you in this situation, is always the most valuable person. Those groups always function the best. They are the most successful to get the most shit done. The most ironic thing is if we had a group of 20 people and we're functioning really good because we have a devil's advocate who's pissing everyone off and making us argue our points. If we said, hey, we have to get rid of one person in the group, who is it? It's always that person.
But you know what's crazy about Matt being the devil's advocate? He's like a fucking mathematician, and math is either right or wrong.
Yeah.
There's no like gray area. It's like right or wrong.
And to your point, you said something about being a good person, whatever. To me, like, okay, if you want to go through
whatever to me or whatever to him. To me, it's fine. I get it.
Like to be a good person, like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
To be a good person is fine if you don't want to have an opinion. Okay? Like if you just want to go through life and just be nice and like things are good, then and just not be a dick to people, I get it. But if you're going to have an opinion on the Second Amendment, like my opinion is that you should at least have a fucking education. It is not for hunting. It is not for hunting. It is to make sure the government can't take control of us. That is why it's there for. It was not
like I said, they came from a oppressed society.
Yes. And that's the reason why it's there. The First Amendment is there. Like the separation of church and state wasn't to keep God out of things. That was not the intent of the amendment. That is not why it is there. The intent was that the government couldn't tell you what religion to be. There's a difference.
Because they were also, and that was part of like conversations I've had before. People like, well, they use like these Christian beliefs on things. I go, but you have to remember when this was written, it was religious freedom, and 99% of the people who left England were Christians. So when they wrote the Constitution, it was based off Christian beliefs. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that, you can go to school and disagree with the syllabus, but that's what they're still going to do.
Well, like one nation under God
is like the first line.
Yep, does not mean that we have to separate church and like we're taking religion out of everything. That is not the intent of it. All the principles, thou shalt not kill, like these things are based in religion. That is completely fine. They were just saying, I can't tell you you have to practice a certain religion or you can't practice a certain religion. They knew that was important way the fuck back then. Like the people who wrote the Constitution, they were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Like it has carried up freedom of speech. They had no idea there was going to be a podcast. They had no idea there was going to be the internet. They had no idea there was going to be radio. They had no idea the press was actually going to be like blogs and shit. It holds up because it's just a basic principle. You can say what the fuck you want in whatever medium exists. Guns, they didn't know we were going to have AR-15s. No, they fucking didn't. But you know what? You know who owned cannons? The government did not own cannons when we started this country.
People did.
People did. Like there was no limit. The government had no weapon that was greater than what a person could own at that time. Period.
Well, you know the depressing part about when they do like gun talks in Congress is how like gun illiterate so many of those people are. Like someone can go, there could be a shooting, which is terrible, with an AR, and like they don't need fully automatic weapons. They didn't have one.
They did not have one.
And then I always also flash back to that. Well, they didn't mean like AR-15s or fully automatic weapons. So you're telling me if this guy would have come up and said, hey, George, we got this fucking gun that will just keep shooting as long as you pull the trigger. You think he'd have been like, you know what? That's not fair. Or do you think he would have been like, how many can we have by Christmas Day when we go across the Delaware and fucking murder these people?
And to your point, like Whoopi Goldberg, she's on The View. She's like, you know, I own a gun, so I'm not against guns, but like, there's no reason for anyone to own a semi-automatic weapon. And I'm like, okay. And everyone's like,
she's got a musket?
Yay! Like, what do you have? You have a muzzle loader? Like even a revolver acts semi-automatic. I mean, it's a revolver, but it acts semi-automatic.
Well, very few guns are cowboy action anymore. The whole cock to shoot.
Right. So, like, you have a semi-automatic gun. You have a fucking handgun. The semi-automatic, like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Therefore, you should shut the fuck up and not have an opinion. I believe if you're going to have an opinion, you should at least have some education on it. And it doesn't mean I have to agree with you. You can tell me that you're educated in the Second Amendment and you disagree with mine. Well, let's have a debate then. At least you have an education, even if I think you're dumb. Right? Let's debate this out. or things have changed. Well, I don't think so. Did you see what they're trying to do in England?
Something down to like knives, right?
Well, what they're trying to do in England is if they think, if the government deems that your house is too big for you, for old people, that they should be able to take it.
Huh?
Yeah, it's actually a debate that's happening. It's on the radio. Now, I don't know if it's like
Well, I
how
wonder what
far.
the catalyst was for that.
Their housing shortage, their housing crisis, because of migrant crisis, and people don't have fucking houses.
Well, you know who has a house that's way too big for them, if they're really going to talk about that, is the old Buckingham Palace is way too large for the 2 people that live there.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're
I'm
going
actually
to...
kind of surprised that the royal family's still a thing.
Which also, another fucked up viewpoint is, all these people in California want to push for fucking helping homeless people. You guys live in 6,000 square foot homes at the small end. Why aren't
Who? Oh, the rich people?
the celebrities and rich people?
Yeah.
Why don't you let them move into your house? Don't pretend to care. Like when I was talking to Drew yesterday, I said, you know what would be an interesting social experiment? Is when someone filled out their W-4, which if you don't know your W-4 is, that's your withholdings whenever you get a job.
You should get a job and then you'll find it.
Yes, and then you'll find out. But what would be very interesting to see is if how they base the welfare system off would be like, say I handed Matt and Tanner their W-4s and the line was, how much of your check would you like to give to social programs?
0.
Which would be interesting to see how many people who were like big like social program pushers and believe in, that everybody should get everything handed to them, what they would put on that blank.
Well,
some people would put a lot, I'm sure. But I think you would see a lot of people be like, I don't know, what do you think, like a couple dollars? Like, what are you thinking? Or if you did it percentage based. Would you like to do 10% of your check and then you're going to get your first check and be like, what the fuck? And then you're like, oh, there it is.
So, it cracks me up. Like, people talk about taxes. They're like, you need to pay your fair share. It's like, does anyone pay more? Like, do you ever do you know anyone who has voluntarily sent the government money for extra taxes? Like,
Only
no, you
by
can take
accident
this.
one time.
But you got it back.
No, I just pushed it forward to next year.
Okay, but you didn't just give it to them.
Yeah.
Right, like no one.
No.
Like I don't know any rich person who's like,
That
you
makes
know
a
what?
charitable
My
donation."
fair share. They'll bitch about their fair share, but like,
Yeah.
my fair share is I think you need another mill. No, and you know what? Our government spends money like shit. Like I am not giving. It's like giving I do not understand. Like we need more tax money. We have a government who has us $36 trillion in debt. They have a spending problem. You know what I mean? Like they don't know how to spend money.
Well, you know what'll be
how.
interesting. It's going to be interesting is that when they, they're predicting a population decline
Yeah.
because not as people are having kids, which means less tax money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why yeah. Oh, a little off topic. Are you guys ready for the world to end like on Monday?
Oh yeah, the fucking eclipse.
So, okay.
Dude, if you guys get it, I wish I could go. They're so cool.
They are cool. I'm not going to
drive to. I'm not going to drive somewhere to watch it.
It's Missouri.
I think
you
Oklahoma's one of the best views. I think is.
Drew in Spencer, they were like directly in the middle of the path of totality.
There's a Amber
Spencer
showed me a
where?
site that has.
Spencer, Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Directly in the path.
Amber, so there's some site I don't know where it was at, but it'll show you each state and like what they're.
Yeah.
So-
They have it. Okay, but
Because we're
here-
like what 87% here.
something like that. But 87% doesn't even look that cool. Like if you've ever seen a
It's
total,
still pretty cool.
it's not nearly as cool as
Not
total.
nearly as cool. Well, I mean,
Like if you've seen a total eclipse, is way.
I
yeah.
watched the
yeah.
total eclipse of the heart video. Is that the same?
Yeah.
It's like just
Same-
like
you
that.
get the same emotional feeling.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, we pass through what's called the Taurid meteor stream twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's the meteor stream that has basically attacked the world several times. Okay. Ending dinosaurs, well, actually not dinosaurs, ending the ice age. Like we've had meteor showers. So last year in October-ish, they talked about this devil comet. Okay. And you could see it at that point in time. Like it was far away. They're like, oh, it's never going to be that close, blah, blah, blah. And then like, I'm looking at some of the like futures. I'm like, okay, well, what happens like next year? And it looks really fucking close to me. Like they're like, it's not going to be, I'm like, it looks like it hits us. Like, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure it doesn't hit? And then all of a sudden now, next week, right, NASA's sending 3 rockets during the eclipse to study the eclipse. I'm like,
You fucking conspiracy.
and the devil
Yeah.
comet is supposed to be able to be seen.
Yeah.
I'm like, you motherfuckers, don't blow this thing up. You know what you're creating more meteors. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens. You can't blow up a comet. You can't. Like, anyone who thinks you can, you're creating more debris.
I mean, you're creating more debris, but if you create a lot of smaller debris,
you have more chances of getting hit. It does not.
It depends how small the debris gets down to.
I know, but like, it does not take a very
Wasn't
big
that Armageddon where they tried to blow it off course? Or no, they blew it up, though. They
Yeah,
did
they
blow it up.
blew it up.
So ideally, you would attach something to the comet, because you can mine comets. You can attach to them. You'd mine it far enough away, and then you'd attach something to it and propel it just slightly off to just make it
they
miss.
did that back in 2020, maybe. They tested it on there's a pair of comets that kind of, there's a bigger one and a smaller one that kind of orbits it, and they shot a rocket out to hit it, to slam into the big one, just
knock
to
it off
see,
course.
Yeah, to see how far off course they could get it, and it was good because that one's like far enough out, like it's not going to get us, and they can measure the impact because they can measure the impact of the bigger chunk and the smaller chunk.
Yep.
And how far it goes.
So that's what actually Space Force is designed for. Everyone makes fun of Space Force, and I know they have a really dumb name, Space Force. But
I think it's a baller name.
Yeah, but that's literally what they're designed for. I am a conspiracy theorist. Right now I'm like 35-0, so this would be like
I don't. I think that
The other way around.
I think that O is probably
Yeah.
a little aggressive.
no, I just have to wait long enough.
they did
Conspiracy theories, you know what they are? Another name for spoiler alert.
You're just waiting on the Kennedy one still, huh?
Oh, the government was. Have you seen the? Brett.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Brett.
I'm not saying that Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm just saying, do you think he
He
was the
did
only?
not act alone, and he was part of the government. He was a CIA asset in Russia. That's all known.
Oh, I'm not saying any of that's wrong. I'm just saying for them to actually come out and admit all of it.
No, they still redacted it all. 70 years later, 60 some years later, it's still redacted. They want what? How fucked up could you have been to not to like? Nope, it's only been 60 years. We can't tell anybody about this yet.
But don't they think there was 3 shots?
Like they think there are multiple. So,
But then I think one of them, didn't they prove, was just the Echo in Dealey Plaza?
so Lee Harvey Oswald, just to let you know, like defected from the United States.
He was in
Russia.
Cuba at some point. He was actually talking to the Cuban government about killing Kennedy at one point, I believe.
He was and he defected from the United States into Russia. So at
And
that,
Russia didn't want him.
they thought he was a plant.
Yeah,
Okay,
What kind of plant? Like a snake plant?
like a fern.
they thought he was
vine?
a CIA plant to get information from Russia. In the U.S. government, they had basically had like a track like on anything on his file. Anyone who got into it, like they would know, like they had it like bugged basically. Now I don't know what technology they were in the 1960s, but they were waiting for someone to try and access his file. No one ever did. So he defected back into here, and then the government gave him a fucking plane ticket and sent him to Dallas. Like that is not an innocent thing. He is a CIA
And
plant.
then there was a bunch of Cuban like safe houses or something along the way. The bus route that he was rolling, like there's a bunch of weird stuff that went
So
on down
Cuba, a lot of the militant Cuban rebels didn't like JFK because JFK, the Bay of Pigs, was basically the CIA trying to force JFK into invading Cuba. JFK said, we're not doing that. So they actually took no U.S. military vessels. They actually launched the Bay of Pigs off like shipping from like shipping boats because JFK wanted nothing to do with it. So yes, there was a Cuban link to not liking him. However, back then, do you know what the CIA, like they had this Operating Mockingbird? I think that's it. It was all the different ways that the U.S. government, the CIA, came up with that we could start a war with Cuba. One of those ways was to shoot down a passenger airliner in the Cuban airspace, and the U.S. shoot it down and just say Cuba did it. Like
They have a bunch of those, like a bunch of those scenarios of how to do stuff that was like
this was the
terrible
government.
shit to
This
do
was
to
the
US
CIA
citizens. Yeah.
figuring out ways to manipulate the American people. So, like, if you think that your government is there to protect you, you're sadly mistaken. Like, it has been fucked up for a long time.
So I think the whole point of this thing was just be a better person.
Be educated.
Be educated, be a good person. And be a good person could be like putting your shopping cart back in the thing.
I fucking hate people that do.
Not putting cold products in a warm aisle at the grocery store if you don't want it. picking up toilet paper, that's laying on the floor that's clean, you could just throw it in the trash, or a paper towel. Picking up trash on the floor.
Would you pick up, if you walked into a bathroom and there was someone else's toilet paper there, would you pick it up or just your own?
I would use a lot of other toilet paper.
Crumpled, or is it just like a sheet sitting on the ground flat?
The sheet on the ground, I've done that a million times here.
Yeah, because it just fell off.
Yeah.
Now a poopy one, I would use a bunch of other toilet paper to encapsulate my hand and then put it in there.
I mean, I feel like I'm a good person, but I might just let that one sit.
I was trying to figure out a way like I could get it to stick to the bottom of my shoe and then wipe it off on the toilet. But.
No, because then your shoes are going in your house, man. Like, no.
No, I think it depends. If it was here, obviously I would.
Yeah.
But I would use like a bunch of other toilet paper to pick it up.
Or some gloves.
Probably just, I'm not going to leave the bathroom once I'm already in there. I'm too lazy for that. I'm going to just use a bunch of toilet paper and throw it away. But yeah, just like be a good person and like just stop getting so outraged about other people's shit. Like who cares? Like if they're not really hurting anyone or offending someone, people are going to do shit you're not going to agree with. It's going to fucking happen.
I feel like growing up in the 90s, like we had way better ways of disagreeing with shit. Like a lot of people just, to me, it's like everyone just kind of left each other alone a lot more. And like if you didn't like somebody,
well, the interwebs wasn't as crazy in the late 1900s.
Yeah, and like if you got in a fight, like you know how many friends that I made from like punching them in their face. Like we'd get in a fight, and then like 2 weeks later, we're like friends hanging out.
Right. You're like, okay, well, we settled that.
Yeah, it's over. Now you can't even get in a fight because 10 other people are jumping in to stomp on you.
Well, no, because they don't leave their keyboards.
That's true.
And if you're a keyboard just talk shit warrior, you're probably a huge piece of shit.
Like Mike Tyson says.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're protected behind that keyboard.
Yep.
I'm really looking. So that topic leads. Do you guys know who Jonathan Haidt is? He wrote "Coddling of the American Mind." American psychologist. Just if you got a chance, like "Coddling of the American Mind" is fucking great. He just came out with a book called "The Anxious Generation," and he's done a ton of research and a ton of study on the youth. And a lot of it, he kind of, in Coddling the American Mind, he talks about all these different things. And like in the Coddling the American Mind, it starts with a quote that says, "Prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child."
Yeah.
And so like you go down that route to kind of extrapolate that back out. And that's been one of the pieces that's led to a lot of this stuff. Like growing up, like we were prepared for the world. No one was trying to like cater and temper the world for us to be in it. Like it was like, hey, this is what the world is.
Yeah.
Let's get you better for it. And so now
and you might choose a path that takes, people look down on you or whatever, but you learn to deal with it.
Right. And so, but we were prepared for that. And so coming out, we had a better skill set than like even people that are maybe only 5 years younger than us. Like they were the beginning of a generation that didn't get that preparation. So now they're coming out and they don't they just quite frankly, most don't have the skill set to do what you were talking about. Like be okay with like not everyone's going to like you. People are going to say things that are going to make you upset and the world could be tough. Like they were failed by their parents to be prepared.
We had some point in time where like your feelings overrode facts. Some time where it changed. You know what I mean? Like that if I said something factual but it hurt your feelings, I was now a dick. It wasn't that you were wrong or that maybe you should reevaluate your opinion. Is that I was an asshole because I hurt your feelings. And enough people didn't want their feelings hurt to where we ended up with a bunch of pussies. And that's what we have right now. I mean, you can call them anxious or whatever. I don't care. You can use a better term, but I'm not calling pussies. Like they can't handle anything. Yeah. They can't handle any adversity. Like my boss yelled at me. You know what? My fucking boss yelled at me. You know what? My boss was also my dad, and he fucking yelled at me a lot.
Yeah, and but it brings up an interesting point, like specific. And so I interact with this topic much more on the professional side, especially in my former role where we were hiring. I was in charge of a lot of hiring, and we hired a lot of people out of college. And so the first thought is like, well, fuck that. I'm not gonna hire any of these kids out of college. Like, they're not ready for this, and I don't want to deal with that bullshit. But then you also don't have anyone to hire.
Right.
So now I'm stuck either trying to like sift through tons and tons of applicants to find the couple that I'm like, these are good, or we can change how we interact with them to bring them up. And yeah, it does take a little more investment on the front end. And this is again some particular to the professional world. I think there's some pieces you can take out and kind of apply to the real world. But like at least from on the work side, you find the people who have kind of the raw talent, we'd hire them. And then you slowly start to have real conversations with them. And so someone in these people's lives who is aware of this shortfall needs to start have these conversations to get that thing going. But at some point, early on in that process, it becomes your responsibility as the person who's ill prepared, because now you've had someone that hopefully you've had someone that you trust, that you have a good relationship with, who has told you these things directly, and they're trying to give you constructive, positive feedback. And once that's happening, the onus now is on you to take that and action it to become better. And so that's, I think that's where those people need to go, or that needs to happen with them. They're not a destination really, but
yeah, it's not other people's fault.
No, but we also are like stuck dealing with it.
Yeah.
Right. So
but I think the difference is that you're either going to take the easy way out and coddle them continued, which is what most people do.
Yep.
Or you can try and fix it, which is harder, and you have more failures.
Yeah. Right. But that's
the only way it will actually
right. But it takes both. If you want to call it like the pussies and the non-pussies, to use the Tanner term, right? Like the non-pussies have to invest a little more up front to try to get that thing going. But then the pussies have to
quit being pussies,
grab onto that and be like, oh, this isn't working. I need to change.
Yeah, I think that time frame you're stating is also the participation trophy time frame. Because you don't learn to lose, you don't learn how to deal with adversity, you don't learn how things are hard, and you just like, but I'm still a winner. You're not. You're kind of a fucking loser all around, but you can be a winner.
So my problem is that I get it. Like everyone wants to, and I do call them pussies. So like I'm fine. But what I really want to do is tell their parents that you raise pussies. Right? Because you know who gave participation trophies? It wasn't the 10-year-old who said, I want a participation trophy. The 10-year-old was like, oh, we didn't win. And the mom's like, oh, you know what we can do? I'll get you a trophy for being a loser. Like that. It was the parents that did it.
But the parents have already failed.
Yeah, I know. But like, so I feel bad because I understand these kids were raised as pussies, and it's not necessarily their fault they were raised that way, but they're the ones that have the consequences.
They still have to own it.
And they have to own it, and we have to fix it. But it's a whole generation of parents that are like, oh my God, Billy cried when he lost his game. Let's get Billy a trophy. No. You know what? When I coached flag football, the parents were like, are we going to get him trophies? I said, did they win every game? And they said, no. I said, then they don't get a fucking trophy. Like, I didn't need you to win. I rotated positions. Everyone got to play quarterback. We weren't trying to win every game. I was trying to teach them football. But you don't get a fucking trophy for trying.
No,
right?
There's a bunch of really good, specific to that. There's a lot of really good research that you can like clearly see if you look at some meta studies for it. Like they're up to a certain age, which is close to like the 5 or 6 year old, maybe up to 7, where like getting some kind of trophy as a reward for participation like does boost child morale, because they haven't fully connected the dots on like what winning means and what getting a fake trophy means. Like that stuff's still a little ambiguous, but it's shortly thereafter you see like the deterioration of the value of that trophy for the actual child. Like immediately they're like, oh cool, I get a trophy, I get a pizza party, whatever the reward is. But then when you look at studies, like the actual related, I don't know, we'll call it pride or like understanding that, yeah, I really earned this, is like, and it goes down. Like there is no long-term benefit to do that for children. Like even the kids know at a very young age that when everyone gets a ribbon at track day, they know who actually won and who didn't win, and that their ribbon doesn't mean anything.
So what cracks me up is that at UTAN, 4th grade, 5th grade, or 4th grade, even in 3rd grade, track and field day, they only hand out 1st to 3rd place.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that,
you only get ribbons
if you win.
If you win.
Yeah.
Everyone participates and everyone gets cheered on.
Yeah.
But you only get You only get ribbons if you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's the way it should be, because it teaches a valuable lesson early on of a low cost loss.
Yeah.
So you didn't win the 100-meter sprint in 4th grade. Guess what? Next year you're gonna forget. You're not gonna remember
next week.
next week. But it even comes around to like track day the next. I mean, maybe you remember that you didn't win, but you don't remember necessarily like.
Or maybe you're like, oh my God, if I run fast, I get a ribbon.
Right. there was some
There's a
incentive.
reward, too.
Yeah, there's a reward, and there's a piece to go along with it. But yeah, I mean, that's totally extrapolated out through the rest of their growing up and the coddling that happens and the lack of allowing them to fail, right? They haven't been allowed to fail and really suffer from a loss.
They did, and they've never been told they failed. Like that's the thing. Like, oh, good job, you lost.
That's why I think kids, and I'm not saying kids have to be in sports, but I think all kids should be in some kind of competitive function, whether you're on the chess team or whether you're in track or you're a mathlete or what do they do? Those the math like they should be competitive because you learn first of all to be competitive, to want to be better, but then you also learn losing.
So like one of the proudest moments I had with youth sports was my son. Like he was wrestling, he got headbutted pretty hard during a wrestling match and had a big old like mouse on his eye. And the kid and the kid's dad was telling him to like keep grinding on it. And I told the kid's dad, I was like, if you say that one more time, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass. Like this is over. But I didn't tell my son. Like I was just letting him, you're gonna suffer through this a little bit. He got through. He ended up losing. We were walking out. I was like, you want to grab your medal? He's like, I didn't win. It was a second place medal. He's like, I didn't win. So no.
Second place is just the first loser, you know?
Yeah. I was like, well, cool. But like he knew he got beat and he got beat pretty handily. But I was about half a second away from like having a real fight on the side. So I told that kid's dad, I said, you say that one more fucking time, I'm knocking you out.
Yeah. The first place match is going to happen over here in the stands.
Yeah, so like I said, unlike what Tanner's just trying to do to another parent, be a good person.
But I think that I think
I was
more
letting him know
people-
he should be a better person.
I think more people should get punched in the nose. Like,
Oh yeah, like I said, if you people are online like talking shit to people, you should be able to like it should have to put your home address up there.
Yeah, let's meet at the park.
right.
But also we need to kind of start wrapping this up. But also like you and I talked about that fucking girl from LSU, Angel whatever it was.
Angel Reese.
She's in the press conference like crying because people are talking shit to her online. Like, you know, I'm a person. Okay, you're kind of a bitch when you play basketball. I mean, there's other people out there too. We've been in the internet age long enough. Even if you're a good person, people still will talk shit about you. If you're an asshole, people will talk more shit about you. And don't sit there and cry about them like, they're mean to me. Well, you fucking started this. Like,
She got paid over $1 million to play college basketball last year because she plays like a bitch. And I'm completely fine with it.
yeah, but then don't come back and be like, they're mean to me.
Okay, we'll take off all the negative comments, but you have to give your $1 million back.
Yeah.
Or shut the fuck up.
Like her and that Caitlin Clark, when they got into it, they were both talking shit to each other last year. Whatever. I just appreciate that Caitlin Clark's dad will tell her to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I love the way Caitlin Clark plays basketball. She's cocky. She's arrogant. I love it. That's like the only woman basketball game I'll watch if Iowa's on. And that pains me to say being a Nebraska fan. So you know. But like I will watch Iowa play basketball because she's fun to watch play and she will talk shit. She made over $3 million in NIL money.
She's all over Hy-Vee.
Oh my God.
Everywhere.
But, you know, that's another prime example, though. Like, you're going to, you can say whatever you want to. Like, we're talking about how this whole thing started. We'll wrap it up this way. You can do whatever you want to, but there are repercussions to anything you do, good or bad.
Yep.
I don't know if repercussion is for good stuff. I don't know if that's the right
There are
word.
consequences.
I like
There are
consequences.
good and bad
Good and
consequences.
bad. You know what I mean? So, like, you want to be a bitch and make money, people are going to talk shit about you.
You made money.
You know what I mean? So,
Good and bad consequences.
yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, kind of mind your own business.
I'm a dick all the time and no one paid me $1 million.
Yeah. But back to the original part, I think that girl should have been able to wear the two-way hat
I do too.
overall. But like I said, then that's fine if some girl wants to wear a rainbow. You know what I mean? Like,
Just keep it. The teachers need to keep it to themselves.
just keep it even Stevens. And like, you know what? People need to like stop worrying. The big thing, you know what it is? People need to stop worrying about what other people are fucking doing all the time and worry about what you're doing yourself.
Yep.
Like stuff and try to make yourself a better. Like we were talking about the war poet dude. You know, worry about yourself and be a stronger, better person. Be a warrior in the garden, not a gardener in war.
Yeah.
Like, just worry about yourself. Like I've said, if people just worry about themselves, their friends and family in that little circle, that circle will expand because then their friends will take care of their friends and family. And it's instead of worrying about what's going on across the country, across the world that doesn't really fucking pertain to you, just be like, decent to the people around you and watch that grow.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
A little personal accountability goes a long ways.
Yeah. And that's our positive message for today.
Yeah. The more you know.
Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.